Welcome, Sean. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
I know that you sent me a video that I will show in a second. I know just before that you want to say a few words.
Yeah, actually, I was never really intending, it wasn't really my intention to be an entrepreneur that young, actually. But it was more that we went traveling together. We encountered some things of which we thought this could be different. We found a solution for it, and that's how we actually entered it. So I'm still actually getting used to the fact of being called an entrepreneur, because I more feel like I'm carrying out my passion, doing what I love, and being entrepreneur apparently is a part of it. So yeah, thank you. I'm really honored for being here.
Fabulous. Well, we're super grateful to have you. Shall I start by showing that clip?
Yes, perfect. Perfect. Yeah, that's actually a video we made like at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, and I'll get to that later, but it is actually true how magnificent it is, how fast nature was healing and still is healing when we people are basically obligated to stay inside. For example, in Venice's canals, the murky waterways, normally they got clear again. Fish was returning. It really inspired us as well to keep doing what we do, and to see that if we, like, even though it is a situation nobody really was hoping for, obviously, it's amazing to see how fast nature is recovering itself as well, if literally we people are not able to influence it that much as we do. But let me start at the beginning. Hello everyone, I'm Sean Colombon, 23 years young, and I'm co-owner of the business Eco Wheat Straws. It basically all started after, like Julian just said, after graduating from university. Me and my best friend, we went backpacking in the Philippines, and we are both very passionate scuba divers. And due to our passion for scuba diving, we were confronted first-handed with the enormous plastic soup that we humans are causing. If it was on the surface or below the surface, at some places it was scary to see, almost, because we've seen turtles with plastic bags around them between the corals, straws, packaging material, all sorts of plastic litter just floating around. And besides that, what we saw as well in the Philippines is that in Asian countries in general, but that's what we experienced over there, is that trash gets burned. And it doesn't really matter if it's plastics, rubber, or also valuable, for us at least valuable, agricultural waste. It was almost like it was a ritual before sunset at, 5, 6 o'clock, everything got burned. And of course, I can understand that, because, for example, here in Europe, we are situated in the Netherlands, everything is really well organized. We can put our trash outside, the paper with the paper, plastics with plastics, and it just gets picked up and it gets composted. But over there, obviously, they don't have those luxuries, actually, because it's just luxuries. So I can understand that it either gets burned or it ends up in the ocean. And when my partner, after the Philippines, I got back to the Netherlands, I was just student off, had to save a little more money to be able to travel further. But my best friend and partner, he already had saved up some money, and he eventually went to Indonesia. And in Indonesia, he encountered a place where plastic straws were prohibited. And that made us think twice. After he returned, we sat together and we were like, okay, we've seen some things. First, the enormous plastic litter in the oceans. valuable agricultural waste and all sorts of other waste getting burned, and a place where plastic straws were prohibited. So when we came back and we were thinking about it, we dove deeper into the plastic issues here in Europe, close to us. And that's when we encountered that in Europe alone, there are 36.4 billion plastic straws used annually. And then I'm just talking about fast food. Those are major polluters. If you're looking at the hospitality sector in general, it's about 66 billion plastic straws a year, which is magnificently much. It's shocking. And just to make it like more visual for everyone, that's a line from here in the Netherlands to New Zealand based on 20 centimeter plastic straws every day again. So we can literally go around the globe based on plastic 20 centimeter straws every day. And of course, what we saw next to that was the agricultural waste getting burned, of which we thought maybe we can do something with that. So we dove deeper into that as well. And that's how we encountered that, for example, worldwide, we produce more than 700 million or little more than 700 million tons of wheat. And more than 4 million tons of that wheat becomes residual wheat waste. And especially in Asian countries, this gets burned because, like I just explained, they don't have like the system we have over here that they come and pick it up, it gets transported, it gets processed. So they burn it. And that's why we thought, why can't we do something with that waste instead of burning it, doing at least something valuable with it. So that's, like Julian said in the beginning as well, that's basically what we do. We collect this residual waste. We do that from farmers in India. I'll also explain a little further on why we do that in India. But we collect this residual waste from the farmers so they cannot burn it. They get financially compensated for it. Then we soak it in water so the bacteria get out and it isn't dirty anymore. It gets sterilized to kill the last bacteria, and then we package it, and we have a sustainable drinking straw. I'll just show it real quick to visualize it for the people as well. We literally have like the wheat stems like this in the field. Here on the top we have the grains, the gluten, which obviously they use to make bread, for example. You have a little part down which they use to make hay to feed cattle, for example. But in India, where we source, that's where the rest simply gets burned because they don't have a valuable purpose for it. And that's why we make natural wheat drinking straws from it. So they don't have to burn it, don't have to get rid of it, and they get financially compensated for it, just to reduce the plastic straws that we indeed don't have to use if we make it a natural straw. And the most beautiful thing, what I at least think is the most beautiful thing about the product, is that it's fully able to compost naturally. So after use it, you can just throw it in the compost bin and it naturally decomposes within 21 days. Obviously, this is also, it depends a little bit of the rainfall as well. Here in the Netherlands, we're that lucky that we have a lot of rain all the year through. So over here, it gets composted really quickly, but also in countries where there's more humidity and where it's warm or where there's not that much rainfall, it's always able to naturally decompose within 35 days. And for us, like scuba divers, we love our passion. It's really important for us that we don't only prevent from single-use plastics to enter the ocean, but also to basically clean up the mess we've already made. And that's why we donate 2% of every purchase amount to the Ocean Cleanup. I don't know if everybody is familiar with the Ocean Cleanup, but it's a charity who is doing everything to firstly make sure that the oceans get cleaned from the plastics that are already in it. So they are developing machinery that can just on a natural basis let the plastic enter and make sure it doesn't float around in all the garbage patch we have in the world. And besides that, what they are doing, what's really important for us as well, is that they are building interceptors. And they are building interceptors for the 1,000 most polluting rivers worldwide, which can be found mostly in Asia and in Central America. So they are not only cleaning the ocean, but they're also trying to prevent the single-use plastic from entering the ocean. So that's how we can close the tap instead of just trying to rid the oceans of the plastics, and eventually it's going to get in anyways again. So for us, just summed up, what our sustainable solution is, or at least the part that we want to contribute, is that we go towards, in general, a circular economy, and for us, in which we upcycle agricultural waste, which would normally be incinerated, to a first-class single-use item, and like I just mentioned, what afterwards can serve as a nutrient for our own soil. So it doesn't, basically we just give it a phase in between. It is a crop, we use it to make bread eventually, and instead of having waste or producing waste, we try to use that waste, give it a phase in between, basically as a drinking straw, and afterwards it ends up as a nutrient for the soil again, on which theoretically new crops could be grown. So that's how we work towards a circular economy, basically. And I'll also just add a little bit the part about the India, because I think, which you were wondering as well, why India? Why would you source from India? Well, like I just mentioned, about 700 million tons of wheat gets produced annually worldwide. And more than 100 million tons of those 700 million tons gets produced in India. And before, for example, here in Europe, we're very developed and just fortunate, basically, that we're so developed that we pulp it or make hay from it and put it back over the soil so it can decompose naturally. But in India, for example, they have two seasons, which is the paddy season, the rice, and the wheat. And they only have 2 to 3 weeks in between the paddy and the wheat season to basically get rid of all the waste and get going again for the next season. So they just burn it because they don't have a valuable purpose for it. And that's why we want to contribute to that and source in India so they cannot burn it, because like from the 4 million tons of agricultural wheat waste that gets produced annually, so residual waste that doesn't have a valuable purpose, an astonishing 1.7 million tons of that residual waste gets produced in India. So they are not only one of the biggest producers, but also one of the biggest polluters. And that's why it's for us really important to tackle the problem at the source and get the residual waste from India. And that's basically just a people, planet, profit thing. Firstly, people, obviously, they have a lot of waste which they don't know what to do with it. So we collect it from them and we compensate them for it, obviously. They cannot burn it. We can use it for a valuable single-use item. So they also, because obviously farmers in India, they are not the most wealthy people in general. So they can also find benefit from it financially and not burn their waste, basically. If we go to the planet part, well, I think that's pretty clear, because if they are not able to burn it and therefore emitting unnecessary carbon dioxide, that's better for all the planet. And just like I said, the 1.7 million tons of wheat waste getting burned, then something happens, because we've been in the last time we've been in India to visit our plant was in the end of November, and they had just had the paddy season was over and they were burning the crops, and it was unbelievable to see what happens when they burn the crops. It's just a smog everywhere. Yeah, it was maybe the first time that even inside I was voluntarily using my face mask just to prevent from breathing that air, because it was just that polluted. It was also like during the day, if you were driving with the car and you had the headlights on, you could just see the smog everywhere. It was quite confrontating as well, but also a confirmation of that what we are doing is a good thing and that we are searching in the right spot regarding trying to tackle the pollution problem regarding weed waste, at least. In India, which is obviously one of the biggest agricultural countries, an astonishing 42% of the greenhouse gases that gets emitted over there is from agricultural waste. So almost half of the greenhouse gas, which for me is just, it's unbelievable. It's that much, especially in a country as big as India, which is almost as Europe, and such a big agricultural country. That even in that country, 42% of the greenhouse gases gets emitted from agriculture.
Just quickly tracing back to the video, as you said, it was from last year, and it said at the end that there was a plastic ban that I guess has already been implemented. Could you just quickly elaborate on that ban?
Of course. At least in Europe, from the 3rd of July onwards, there's going to be a plastic ban on certain single-use plastic items, which will be, amongst others, the straws, but also stirrers, so like coffee stirrers, the cotton buds, plastic plates, cutlery, so the fork, knives, spoons, and the most litter items found as plastic and most littering items made of plastic will be banned, which is obviously a very good thing in regarding plastic pollution, because this will make or obligate basically all users of straws and all the single-use items, and especially the big corporates, like take for example a McDonald's fast food. They are using an amazingly much single-use plastics. They are already trying to convert it and using more sustainable products, but they are just massive polluters. And especially for those major corporate organizations, it will be a huge impact that they get obligated to go towards sustainable solutions.
Someone has asked about the flexibility of the straw. Not sure you can what you think about that, but is it, for example, is it possible to make other objects out of the straw?
Well, let me show it like this. This is just the natural straw that we have right now, like the wheat stem basically cut in the desired lengths. Like the straw as it is right here, it's hard and dry because it got sterilized to kill the bacteria. So yeah, it's at this point, it's not flexible. So if you push really hard, you can break the straw. So especially with young children or people who maybe have spasm or something, that could be an issue. So yeah, you have to be careful with those vulnerable groups, let's say it like that. But the beautiful thing is about straw that as soon as you put it in the liquid and you take 2 sips, you wait 2 minutes, is that the water basically gets absorbed through the fiber. That makes it flexible. So yeah, it's true. At the beginning, it's hard and dry, but as soon as it's in the liquid, it gets flexible, just as flexible as plastic, and you can just bend it over and over again, and nothing will happen. But for example, for us, it's really important to try to tackle it at the source. So that's, for example, upcycling the agricultural waste. But on the other hand, we want to get into the main users, which is, for example, fast food. So we've had interest from, for example, a McDonald's, but they say if we order 1 million straws, 1 million straws need to be exactly the same. And through the diameter, because you can see it's fine for soft drinks, for water, for most of the drinks, just for thicker milkshakes or smoothies, it's still a problem. And like I said, it's a natural straw, so we cannot influence the diameter. It makes sense that like down the stem is wider, the diameter is thicker than as it is up. So that's, maybe you can see it a little bit here. Let me search two that have quite a difference. So I don't know if everyone can see it, but it's not exactly the same. So that's why we are also very busy redeveloping the straw. So to see if in some kind of way we can make all the diameters equal. so we can try to tackle it at the source of users at least, which is mostly fast food and, for example, a McDonald's, a Burger King, who are just using mm, immensely much plastic. Now that, like I said, they're already trying to go to sustainable alternatives, but still, it's a massive problem.
How much water is involved in the process, and how sustainable is it?
Obviously, there is some water that we need to use. The first thing that happens with the straws is that they get basically a bath in hot water to all the rests which you have, which are the natural rests, to get it out. So all the literally the straw is clean inside. And we use for that, we use a 80-liter water bath, and we can put about, yeah, well, the thing is, it's not like already cut when it gets into the water bath. So we can it was 30 kilos of raw material, which we can put in one bath. So that's about, so let's say, and every 30 kilos of raw material, we use about 70 to 80 liters water.
Are there other objects or products that you're designing or have in mind other than straws?
Definitely, yeah. First of all, we're quite going well with it, redeveloping the straw, so we can address the major users basically with that redeveloped straw. But besides that, we're also very busy trying to develop other natural products like the cotton buds, because like all the plastics that are going to be banned from the 3rd of July onwards, at least in Europe for now, we are very keen on putting them back into the shelves, but then fully natural. So that's also our point of view. We want to start with the items most found as litter on the beaches. So we have, for example, the cups. We have the cutlery, which is very often found on beaches. We have cotton buds. Obviously, we're looking as well on what's possible, because, for example, water bottles like we have them now, we haven't been able to find a solution for that, how to get that fully weed-based, but we are very busy trying to develop new natural weed single-use products as well, instead of the plastics, which will be banned now. And like I said, our main motivation for that is to redevelop and get back into the shelves the items that are most found as litter, so which are most polluting to our world and our nature. We want to get them back into the shelves, but then fully natural. And I have to say that's quite a big challenge. It's not as easy as it seems, because obviously we have these straws, which are just the natural weed stems from the field. But other products, for example, spoons, forks, they have completely different shapes. So something has to happen to make them in that shape. And that's for us is really important as well. We want to do it in a sustainable way and not emitting a lot of carbon dioxide, not hurting our planet, basically. So that's a really thin line we're walking right now. Like, we want to redevelop those products and make them fully weed-based. But on the other hand, it cannot be like that we damage nature through that. Like, then the whole philosophy, our philosophy and the philosophy of the company would be damaged. So that's a thin line we're walking on right now, and at least try to redevelop it. But it's a hassle. But unfortunately, we have the help of our biochemical experts, Camelot, who are a subsidiary of DSM. I don't know if everyone's familiar with it, but they are a big biotechnical and biochemical company. So they help us to see how we could manage it and how we could achieve that, because that's something, to be honest, that's out of my league. So we try to come up with the ideas and see what we want to do, and they help us basically to see if it's possible and how we can achieve it.
In India, but what is your approach to profit as a sustainable company?
Well, we're obviously a commercial business, so we have to make profits to basically keep on going. That's something we cannot deny. But for us, for me and my partner, it's really important that while making profits, which we think is nothing wrong with that, that we serve, that's for us the main thing, that we serve a greater goal. Like we both are very passionate about nature, scuba diving, hiking, camping. We've done it all together. But for us, it's really important that we serve a greater goal, because that's also really the thing that drives us every day to go to work. That's why it doesn't even feel like work, because we do what we love. And being sustainable in my vision can be a really small thing. You can contribute to sustainability. For everyone, that's different. For example, someone, you're already contributing to sustainability, in my opinion, if you're dividing your trash. If you, instead of buying a plastic bag every time again in the supermarket, use a reusable bag. You know, all the consumers can do just small things, but if 6 billion people in this world do the same small thing, it can still have a huge impact. So that's for me, all consumers, they all little things help. And that's also what they taught me, at least my parents, my family, who are also just more about environment. They always taught me change happens, or change starts with small things. We can't change the world, but together with small things, we can make a difference. And that's always something that stuck in my mind, and I kept with me. And we also want to carry out now in our business. So obviously for us, it's important to tackle it at consumer source. So for example, fast food, but as well, every little entrepreneur who wants to make a difference, or each restaurant, each venue, we are more than happy to discuss with them, to tell them what we do, to tell them why we do what we do, because that's a thing that we still see as quite a challenge. It's a fun challenge, but it's a challenge to make people aware. Because obviously now we are in a group with all people who are into sustainability, who really understand the value of it and understand the necessity, basically. But there are also quite still some people who don't see the necessity. And I really love speaking with those people as well, and just literally during the conversation, see their mind change. Well, at the beginning, maybe they're like, well, it's too expensive, or I don't see the value, or I don't see why that straw is contributing to sustainability. And then during a conversation, when I can try to convince people, or to make them aware of the fact that small changes can have a huge impact, that's really what I love about it as well. And that's why we want, like, a small thing. We want to show people that small things can have huge impact. So that both in corporate, but also in consumers. So that's why we also, for example, when we're with clients, or when we're with parties, we say, like, and what do you do personally for sustainability? And that's when, because there are a lot of people who are like in their corporate, they implement it because the social pressure is growing, which is a very good thing, but also to make them realize, and like, what do you do personally? And that's when a lot of people actually say, like, well, not that much actually. So that's why I hope, and we hope, to not only to make a difference in big corporates, but also in people's lives and in people's personal lives. So they really get to see the value of sustainability and the value of creating a greener world, because a lot of people also are not really aware of the fact that we're basically on the verge of a disaster. And if we keep going like this for another 10 years, maybe we're going to reach the point of no return, and all the things we are doing now would be, I won't say for nothing, but would be a shame if it doesn't have the impact that it could have. So that's why I'm also, for example, really grateful. I'm really impressed that there are platforms like these who bring together people who really want to get more understanding about sustainability, and who really want to contribute to a greener tomorrow and educate themselves about it.